feminism tends to be very divisive in the atheist community, for reasons that you talk about. Some people say that, oh, if you're an atheist, you have to be a feminist. To me, that's more humanism, that's not, because atheism isn't anything additional other than not believing in gods. And also the fact that, sorry, let me gather myself here. So also that feminism, it's hard to define. Like you say, you don't choose to call yourself a feminist. I also tend to avoid the label, even though I am definitely for gender equality or equality among the sexes or whatever you want to call it. We understand that women are traditionally the underprivileged sex and that we're working to make them equal, but there's also situations where men also are unequal, and so we can work on behalf of men as well. And so this gets to be a very tenuous and controversial topic a lot of the times, and so that's kind of what we want to discuss. So, I just like to mention that basically what you would call like the textbook or the dictionary definition of feminism is just equal rights for both sexes. And like I alluded to there, the reason we call it feminism is because females are the underprivileged class in this case between men and women traditionally. So yeah, honestly, I don't have a firm stance on this, other than obviously I think both sexes are equal. So I'm kind of learning as I go here as well. It's a very complex issue. There's a lot of nuance, and it gets very heated. So a lot of the times it's very difficult to have a civil conversation with anyone about this. All right, I will just go ahead and reiterate that I do consider myself a feminist, although I choose not to wear that label specifically. And there's something I really like is a quote from the comedian Aziz Ansari, and I'll just go ahead and quote from him. So he says, "If you believe that men and women have equal rights, and then someone asks you if you're a feminist, you have to say yes, because that's how words work. You can't be like, yeah, I'm a doctor who primarily does diseases of the skin." And then someone says, "Oh, you're a dermatologist?" And then you're like, "No, that's way too aggressive of a word. I'm not a dermatologist at all." So, by that measure, I certainly am a feminist. But I have my reasons for not wearing that word, for that label. And a big part of it is, I'll just give you my personal perception of feminism, okay? This is just how I see feminism presented, most of the time, whether it's right or wrong. So I see feminism as the extreme feminist. I see, shirtless women running around, yelling and screaming. I see people getting overly sensitive at men trying to flirt with women, saying that it's sexual harassment and things of that nature. I see people like Anita Sarkeesian trying to say that, there's male tropes or female tropes in video games that are sexist, and to an extent that's correct, but she goes way, it's hyperbolic what she does with it. So that's my perception of feminism and why I choose not to wear the label. But I'm also not an activist in this area. I'm very active in speaking out against religion as an atheist, as an anti-theist. So even though there are negative connotations to the label atheist, I choose to wear that label because I feel comfortable enough in that I know enough about the topic and the subject matter that I'm trying to take back the word basically and take back the label and turn around that perception, okay? So that's why I feel comfortable there, because that's where my activism is. I certainly would call myself an egalitarian or a humanist with respect to either atheism or feminism. But if you're actually doing activism within a certain realm, you probably want a more identifying label. But that's just why I choose not to wear it. And in that respect, I can understand why people like Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson choose not to call themselves atheists, because they're more about educating people. They're more about science and getting people to understand science. And I think that they probably feel that if they can help people learn and understand science, that will get them to the eventual goal of questioning religion, questioning gods, maybe coming around to that line of thinking. So I can appreciate why they choose not to own that label, even though they very much are atheists, in the same way that I am a feminist but choose not to wear the label. Now, also within the feminist movement, I tend to see a lot of discord. It's just, if you go to like the Wikipedia page on like feminism, and I know it's probably edited and re-edited and people are trying to change it all the time, but if you try to do any research onto these, there's so many different, it's like Christianity, there's like 40,000 different denominations of feminism, and trying to put them all under one umbrella is really useless, really. I mean, it's just, many of them even conflict with each other on a lot of things. You have, we mentioned Shirtgate, Dieter mentioned Shirtgate a little bit earlier. and that was where one of the scientists was helping to land the probe onto the comet back a few months ago, was doing interviews, and he's wearing the shirt that had scantily clad women on it. And in fact, it was actually designed by his friend, who was actually a woman. But you had all these feminists out there saying that his shirt was sexist and inappropriate and things of this nature. But that's the thing, is like you have feminists that fight for women for the right to be able to wear whatever they want, and they shouldn't be shamed for it, or they shouldn't be saying that they deserve to be raped for it or anything like that. You have this string within feminism that says that women are sexually liberated, they can do whatever they want. They say, hey, if women want to do pornography, that's their decision. They should be able to do that. And then you have this other side of feminism that says that these women are being exploited and that this is wrong and we shouldn't be doing this. So there's a lot of discord. There's a lot of mixed messages that you get when you put everything under the umbrella of this one word. A couple weeks back, we did an episode on women in atheism, kind of questioning why there aren't as many women as men that are outspoken about atheism. And some of the comments after that, when I posted my section of the video, I got some comments from some what I consider radical feminists. And one of them basically told me that the only reason that I wanted more women in atheism was so that I can get in their pants. And I took great offense to that, because that's not it at all. I just want our community to be as diverse and as inclusive as possible, because, I think atheism is skewed a little bit more towards men, but it's not this giant gap where, we shouldn't have that many women involved. So to say that the only reason I want women involved in atheism is for that reason is completely absurd, and I fought back against that pretty strongly. But I think that it's just, there's so many ways you can go with this. Basically, what Chad was talking about, he brought up all these statistics, that kind of shed light on why women, at least the perception is there. Are all those stats that he was talking about actually, reflective of reality? I'm sure at least some of them are. So it's interesting to look into. But it's one thing, because we're in a pretty egalitarian society here in the United States, and women have come a long, long way with respect to equality. So, when people say, what has modern feminism done for us lately? Well, it seems like not much, right? Because it seems like they've accomplished most of their goals. But we also have to look more broadly. We have to look at the entire global community. There's women still being horribly oppressed in a lot of other countries. So even if there is not a whole lot to be done, in more developed nations, Western nations, I think there still is some to be done. But also for men as well, I think there's some inequality on the men's side as well. But we also have to fight this globally. So there might be a lot of feminist activists that are working on that as well. So we have to keep that in mind and keep that kind of perspective there. So before I turn it over to Venaloid to give his opinions and things on this, so I do want to just bring up some of the things that often get discussed with hey, men are unequal in these areas too. So something we were discussing the other day amongst ourselves was that. I'm going on Dieter's word on this. So he says that at least in some states, I don't know if it's the entire United States, at least in some states, it isn't considered rape of a man if a woman forces herself onto him. The only way that it's considered rape is if a man is penetrated in some way. But if a woman actually forces herself onto a man, that's not considered rape. If that's the case, we need to fix that, because that's a problem. Another thing is like the selective service. All men 18 years of age have to register for selective service, where women aren't required to do that. Also, paternity leave. I'm lucky enough to work for a company that gives me paternity leave when I have a child, when my wife has a child, but that's certainly not universal by any measure. And we understand that the woman does have the child that actually gives birth, and she has physical trauma and needs to recover and things of that nature. But it's only fair that the man gets to spend some time with his children after the birth as well. And I also understand too that there are situations, just because of biology and just the nature of things, because we are two different sexes, we do have differences. There are going to be some things that aren't entirely equal, and I think one example of that is like abortion rights. Where a woman has complete control over that decision. And then, like, a big point of contention a lot of the time is child support, where, the women can decide to keep the child even if the man doesn't want to, and then the man has to pay child support. So those are all some examples. I'm just going to kind of make an analogy here. So, in the same way that we aren't a post-racial society just because African Americans have achieved equal rights in pretty much all respects, That doesn't mean that, you know, we're a post-misogynistic society right now. Just, you know, so basically, even if feminism has achieved all of its major goals and there's not really much, you know, as far as actual rights, I mean, there might be perceptions out there, there might be things that are still a little unequal out there, but, you know, I think that a lot of what this boils down to, a lot of this discussion and disagreement boils down to is unfortunately labels, you know, defining terms, and then also, you know, is feminism still needed in like in like the United States, basically? Obviously, we've talked about, you know, other, you know, other nations, third world countries, things of that nature, but, you know, is it still really needed in the United States? And even if it's not, you know, it doesn't mean that we're a post-misogynistic society or that there's not still, you know, I don't know, you want to say animus or just discrimination against women out there. But I liken it to, you know, like affirmative action. There was a time and a place for that, in my opinion, and it was to help minorities, you know, African Americans, from their disadvantaged position that they held for so long to get back into society. I actually did a video on this last year when the Supreme Court ruled on the affirmative action case in Michigan, and I actually explained how, you know, even though I felt like affirmative action had a time and a place, I felt like that time and a place had kind of gone by, and now we're kind of past that point. We've kind of had a few generations to be able to help lift them up back to, you know, give them a leg up, and they should be able to now be on a level playing field, you know, after having been given that help. We shouldn't be taking opportunities away from other groups in order to favor African Americans at this point. You know, I think at one point that was needed. I think we're past that. So in the same way, I don't think, you know, we should get to the point where we're giving women opportunities that they don't really deserve just because we want to make things equal. So what I'm saying is, like, if we still have, you know, men that are dominant in a certain field, or maybe there's more male CEOs, or whatever the case may be, you know, I'm just throwing out random examples here, but, you know, just because it's not a 50-50 split, that doesn't mean that it's misogynistic or that there's still work to be done, you know. I think that just claiming that everything needs to be equal 50-50 split is going too far. I think that it has to come down to a point where you have to earn it, where it has to be deserved. Okay, and I think that's basically the crux of the issue here. Have we come far enough? Has enough been done where we're at that point, or does more need to be done? And, you know, like I said, I'm still learning on this issue. I'm still, you know, kind of on the fence in a way. So I can't answer that question personally. I don't know if any of you feel comfortable answering that question, if we've come far enough yet. But I think that's the crux of the issue when it comes down to it. I just say thanks to Venaloid for joining us tonight. I definitely appreciate he's gone. See you later. No, I definitely appreciate that he was able to join us tonight, and I'm glad that he had this outlet, I guess, to explain what his blog was all about and all that, since he hasn't been on YouTube for a while. So we resurrected Venaloid. He's back from the dead. Everybody, this is the power of reason. This is what we do. No, but thank you very much sincerely for joining us. It was a pleasure to get to actually meet you. And yeah, I guess we're just going to play it out. So I'm Prototype Atheist. You can find me on YouTube and Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. I feel like I'm taking a break from YouTube as well. I've only put out a couple videos this year, aside from, you know, clips from our broadcast here. I hope to be able to work on that in the near future and get something out to all my subscribers. So I guess just be patient, and I guess you can hold your breath. I don't think you'll die or anything. So I'm gonna try to get something out for you.